Hello and welcome to the JB&M Sports Fanatic channel. Thank you guys so much for coming in for this video. And so we're here to discuss the college football AP top 25 heading into week 9. Of course, we'll review what took place in week 8, and I'll just tell you guys how I feel about some of these teams here as we go along the list. But let's go ahead and get things started here. So at the top of the list, we're going to start off with UGA here. So they're ranked number 1. And, I mean, they received all 63 first-place votes, as they should. They have a scary good defense, and then you complement that with what their offense has been able to do this year. And, obviously there's no complaints putting them at number 1. Excited to see what they're going to do going on the road next week against Florida. They had an off week this past week, so didn't expect to see anything crazy there. And, them getting all the first-place votes, absolutely understand that. And they're going to be ready to go once they get ready for that matchup, in which they're going to go down to the Swamp at the University of Florida. We've seen Florida have that one good – they had that really good game that stood out to us against Alabama this year. So we'll see what version of Florida is actually going to show up. But, you have to love this matchup right here. It's a chance for really – hopefully we'll get to see if the Bulldogs get tested or not. But, hey, right now the Bulldogs, they have stood up to every single challenge, and they've looked at it, and they've handled it pretty good this season. At number 2, Cincinnati, coming fresh off of their win against Navy, in which they won 27-20. There was probably a little concern there about whether or not the AP poll will hold that against them with the game being so close. I think that's more so if we're talking college football players and they're being compared in terms of strength of schedule. That's one of the things you look at, because the eye test is going to be very important for this team the rest of the way. But putting them at number 2, I've got no complaints with that either. So at number 3, Alabama. They are 7-1. They did beat University of Tennessee recently, and we saw Tennessee had beat Florida, but they beat Tennessee 52-24. So, came out there, took care of business, and which we expect from a Bama team. And, putting them at number 3 over Oklahoma, who's number 4 and 8-0. I agree with that decision. Oklahoma's had a lot of close games, and this past one, I know that they won by 2 scores against going against Kansas, but they should have never had Kansas in the game to begin with. That should have never been the case. And we've seen that a lot of times this season for Oklahoma. They ended up beating Kansas on the road 35-23, but it was very close up until like the last couple minutes of the game where they scored again. So, it's just been extremely close there. And then number 5, you've got the Ohio State universities. I mean, hey, Ohio State came out and they weren't playing around this week, and that's what they needed to do. They won 54-7 on the road against Indiana, and I know Indiana isn't a top 25 ranked team. However, when it comes to Ohio State and some of the biggest problems we have with them early in the season, it was the eye test. They did not look good on the eye test, even though they were winning games against Minnesota. Then that loss they had against Oregon, they definitely needed to start winning some of the eye tests moments here, and that's exactly what they were able to do. C.J. Stroud has been tremendous for them at quarterback, and I'm loving what I'm seeing for the Buckeyes here. I personally probably would have even considered putting the Buckeyes over Oklahoma, but either way, putting Oklahoma over Ohio State right now, I've got no problem with that, because the Buckeyes, once they beat a ranked team, I think they could definitely hop over Oklahoma. And then at number 6, Michigan. Putting Michigan at number 6, I agree with that call. I mean, Michigan, they went out there, took care of business against Northwestern, especially after the first quarter. And so that was expected in that one. They went out there and did everything I needed to see them do. They won 33-7. That's convincing there. I like what I've seen from them all year long. So putting them in number 6, no problem with that. At number 7, Oregon. And so Oregon, against a tough opponent, an opponent that you obviously have to make sure that you keep that you stay focused on, because UCLA, they're no pushovers this year. They are not pushovers. It's just they've been up, they've been down, they've been a little inconsistent. But being able to go on the road and win 34-31 against that UCLA team, that's a good win for them right there. Put them at number 7. I agree with that one as well. Now at number 8, you've got Michigan State. They're 7-0. They're having a really good season this year. Very quiet, though. And, of course, for them, the true test is going to be towards the end of the season when they have their matchups against Ohio State, their matchups against Michigan, and those schools like that. We want to see how they're going to match up in those matchups. But I like what I've seen from this team so far. Next week is going to be a very good week. It's going to be Michigan versus Michigan State, guys, and that is going to be big for both of those teams. And so that's going to definitely be the game that I'm going to be looking to stream next week for sure, Michigan versus Michigan State. And we'll get to see how that one goes. But hey, I'm looking forward to that one next week. Absolutely, that's going to be a great one. And then at number 9, you've got Iowa. They trying to bounce back this season after losing to Purdue. And then Purdue, that was a big loss right there for this program. And so putting them at number 9, I can understand the case of putting them at number 9. And yeah, but they're certainly looking to try to prove that what happened against Purdue, that's not going to define their season moving forward, and that they are better than what they looked in that one. And then let's see, at number 10, Mississippi. And so in Mississippi, they've got a lot of things going for them this year. I mean, they beat LSU. That was a pretty up and down LSU team, but they were coming off a big win there for the program. And yeah, so to beat LSU 31-17, way to recover, after stumbling against Bama. So I've seen a nice recovery there. Only got one loss on the year, and that's not a bad loss to have for any team. So yeah, putting them at number 10, you can make the case that they probably should be ranked higher than Iowa possibly, but I like how it is right now with Iowa 9 and Mississippi 10. Coming in at number 11, you had Notre Dame. They beat an unranked USC team, but they beat them, by about as much as they should beat them, I think, 31-16. So, and it was at home for them. So, yeah, putting them at number 11, I agree with that. Now, at number 12, you've got a one-loss Kentucky program here. And yeah, Kentucky, taking that L to UGA. UGA came out and showed why they're the number one ranked team in the country, but they do that to a lot of teams. So no problems with Kentucky being there at number 12, and the test for them is going to remain in the remainder of their schedule. Speaking of remainder of their schedule, Wake Forest went out there, and yeah, they put up some points. Matter of fact, they put up 70 points. So that was great right there. The problem was they let Army score 56 points on them as well. But still, with that being said, though, putting them at number 13, I love it. And this is the team that I'm monitoring right now the rest of the way for the ACC. I really want to see how they're going to do during the second half of this schedule moving forward. And can they be the team to win the ACC? Because the ACC is up for grab. Clemson, they went out there, lost to Pittsburgh, and so we will see who's going to win the ACC this year. It is fully up for grabs, and there's a lot of teams that's going up and down this year for them. And let's see who's next. So, all right, so Texas A&M. Obviously, we know that this is the team that they did beat Bama. That's a big win right there. But they have 2 losses as well. So putting them at 14, I can understand that. I honestly can understand that. And they beat South Carolina 44-14. So beat them convincingly. So yeah, absolutely love that. Now, what I don't love is the fact that Oklahoma State lost, and they lost a close one to Iowa State. That was a big one right there. We'll touch on Iowa State a little bit later on, but that did put Iowa State back in the top 25. But man, that was a pretty big loss. To lose it 24-21, obviously they're still in play for the conference. If they can beat Oklahoma head-to-head, that'd bode well for them if they can run the table the rest of the way. But this was a big loss, especially for any types of hopes for a college football playoff spot. That one right there is going to hurt the old resume right there, especially a conference that we're talking about is already probably against the odds as it is right now. Outside of Oklahoma. And Oklahoma keeps falling in the committee's eyes, which shows you they're failing the eye test right now. And yeah, so that's a big loss right there for them, big loss for the conference. And so, but there we go. And then after that, you've got Baylor coming in at number 16. And so for Baylor, I like where they are right now, but they're going to have a true test coming up against Texas. Texas, they're unranked, but they've been up, they've been down. And so that's going to be a real challenge right there for them next week, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how that one's going to play out. And then at number 17, Pittsburgh, we just talked about them beating Clemson. That was a good win for them. They do have one loss already this season, but they're another team that's in play to potentially win the ACC, and certainly a team that you got to keep an eye out for moving forward. So putting them at 17, I absolutely love that. At number 18, you've got Auburn. So for Auburn, I mean, they did have that big win, a couple weeks ago against Arkansas. I should say last week, actually. And then just looking at what they have out there. And so this is a team that, they're a team you have to keep an eye out for in the SEC, but their true test is going to come towards the end, obviously, in that matchup against Bama. But I like what this team brings to the table. I really like their defense. And so, yeah, we'll continue to monitor them. But a 5-2 team at 18 for Auburn, I like it. They do have some impressive wins, and their losses aren't really bad losses. So I understand that. At number 19, you've got SMU. And so obviously, SMU coming into this one, they did beat Tulane 55-26. That was actually a Thursday matchup for them. So they've had a couple extra days to rest. But yeah, they're 7-0. I like that. Keep taking care of business. Good things will happen. Taking care of business. Penn State was actually not able to take care of business against the Fighting Illini. They went to 9 overtimes to do it. 9 overtimes, but the Fighting Illini found a way to win. That was a massive loss for Penn State. So they fell all the way from 7-20 in that one. And that was a game that they honestly should have won. If they played them 100 times, they probably should win that one 98 times. But this is one of the times in which they really did lose. So that was just an excellent job by the Fighting Illini. They stuck to their strengths. They matched up well. They went out there and played their hearts out, and it worked. So that bodes well for them in that one. But for Penn State, though, that 2-point loss in 9 overtimes was massive, dropping 13 points. That tells you how their season is. That's not their second loss there. So tough break for Penn State. At number 21, though, San Diego State. And so they're currently 7-0, the Aztecs they are. So for them, it's just a matter of keep winning the games in your schedule. You're not going to win the strength of schedule competition, but you just keep going out there and winning the games that you have out there, and good things are going to happen. So certainly looking forward to seeing how they're going to do the rest of the way. At 22, you have Iowa State. That was a big win against Oklahoma State that they had. They won 24-21 over them at home. I know Iowa State was a team that started off ranked in the top like 5 or 6, but yeah, they certainly needed to get a win like that. That was a big win for them over a good Oklahoma State team, giving them their first loss of the year, and so far only loss. And then you go to UTSA. They're another team that's 8-0. And like I said before, you just keep winning the games that you have. They beat Louisiana Tech 45-16 on the road. And so that's great news for them. Just keep taking care of business. Speaking of taking care of business, at 24, Coastal Carolina, they had a massive drop before the college football weekend even started. They lost on Wednesday on the road, Appalachian State. Tough team to play. I know that they aren't necessarily ranked in the top 25, but this is a good Appalachian State team. And so Coastal Carolina found that out the hard way, and they lost a heartbreaking fashion, 30-27 last Wednesday. And so yeah, they dropped all the way from being 14-24 with that one loss. That was a big time loss for them, and that really hurts. But hey, you still got the rest of the season to go. You can still make it a great season. Absolutely. And looking at number 25, BYU. And so for BYU, they're now 6-2 right now. And so they had a close win against Washington State, very close on the road. So yeah, definitely gonna keep an eye out for them. But that was a little too close for comfort right there for me to barely beat Washington State, although it was on the road by 2 points there. We'll see how they do in their next week matchup there. But yeah, that's what you have right there. There's some good matchups next week. We'll get to see Miami versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's ranked number 17. That is going to be a big ACC matchup right there. Texas versus Baylor. That's big for the conference as well. Michigan, number 6. Michigan State, number 8. That's a huge one. Georgia, number 1, going down to Florida. You never know. Iowa, number 9 versus Wisconsin on the road. Mississippi, Auburn. There's some really good matchups next week. Penn State, number 20 versus number 5, Ohio State. A lot of games to look forward to next week. You best believe that. But with that being said, appreciate you guys so much for coming through. Thank you guys for checking out my video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing you guys next time.